Hey folks, Josh Hager here at Bearded Bee Works again. I just picked up 30 cypress boxes and I'm assembling them. I'm just going to walk you through the process on how I do this. I don't consider myself a woodworker, but I put together several boxes, and this way works pretty well for me. Get you a pretty square box without much equipment. What I have here is just a jig, a corner jig that I built, and it just gives me a straight edge here and here that my boards will lock into, and it fits fairly snug to hold everything in place. So I start out with the front side of the hive body. I'm using Titebond 3 glue, and the way I glue these is I just put a little dab of glue on the upper corners and let it run down, and then down in the bottom of the finger joint as well. So once I get all glue on all the pieces, I slide it in my finger or into my jig, making sure that I have clearance for my other piece to make it in there. And then I repeat the process. Make sure that your handles are on the outside and that you have your frame rest pointed up. Sometimes it's easy to get those upside down or backwards, so make sure that you've got everything pointing in the right direction. The lighting's not real good in here, but I think it'll do. So once I get everything in there, I just take a wooden mallet, rubber mallet. I start lining everything up. Once you get everything tight, I'm using a crown stapler with 1.5-inch crown staples to start. You notice I got it braced against the backing here, and I can hold everything tight and square. I put one crown staple in, but these boards have just a little bow in them. They're usually not perfectly straight, and so it might pull your corners back out. I just give it a little tap on each side to make sure that everything's still tight. If you've got a corner that's sticking out a little more than the other, you can staple it first if you need to. And what I'm doing, I'm alternating my crown staples, and then I'll add screws. So I've got a pilot hole drill bit with a countersink on it, and I drill these so you just have enough for the head of the screw to be flush on the wood or just below flush. You don't want to drill too deep; you'll lose some of your holding wood here on the box. So I'm alternating here. You got a crown staple, screw, crown staple, screw, crown staple. I'm putting 4 screws in it. I usually put 5, but the way my jig's set up here, it's hard for me to do that, so I think 4 will be sufficient. I'm using an 1 5/8" exterior wood screw. I tighten these up until the impact starts to hammer just a little bit. You don't want to go too deep, you'll split the wood. So I repeat this process for both sides of the jig, of the box. So I've already made one just like this. I go ahead and glue this in the same way that I did the other. Get all the different edges. You want to put enough glue that it makes contact, but you don't want to have it running everywhere either, make a mess. it's got that side. And I'll take my other side just like it. I glue it. If you do have any glue to run, you can just wipe it up. I'll cover this in another part of the video, but I actually coat the bare end of the wood, or the grain end, this end right here, I'll show you in a second, with wood glue. So you just slide everything together, and then like there again, I put it against a solid backing. Once you have these two corners square, everything else seems to go together pretty square. Like I said, it's probably not ideal, but it's pretty quick, and it's pretty square by the time you're done. Just hold pressure on everything, make sure it's tight. And then I'll go ahead and repeat that process and get everything nailed before I start putting my screws in. So I've got all my crown staples in, and I'll drill my pilot hose and my countersink. Put my 4 screws in. Rotate back around to where you just crown staple. Put your screws in. On these finger joints, it's pretty easy to line things up because you have the finger from the other side sticking through here. So you can just center that up there, and then center it up on this finger here, and everything is pretty square then, pretty uniform. And there's your box. Like I said, if you have any wood glue that runs anywhere, just smear that off. Like I talked about, I treat this ripped in here, the grain end of the wood, with wood glue, because it seems like paint the paint just keeps soaking into that, and it's hard to get a good coat on it. So I coat that to protect that, and then it paints better as well. So you get your frame rest up, all your handles are out, and that's all there is to it. Got a few more boxes to build, but I want to show you one other thing, or a couple other things before I finish the boxes up. I use a migratory top. This is also cypress. This is Amish made equipment. I got this idea off Bob Benny. He's got a lot of good YouTube videos on beekeeping. This is a 2 7/8 hole saw. It's a little big. I had to tweak the hole saw just a little bit. On his video, he gives a little more information about the right size, but it's hard to find the exact size. And the size you need is the size for a feeder jar lid, like a honey jar lid or a quart jar lid, that will fit into this hole right here. So I had to tweak this, had to actually make it smaller. It doesn't cut quite as well as it should, but it got the job done. Basically, on a hole saw, every other tooth is alternated. One sticks in, one sticks out. I end up pushing those teeth in where they were all flush, and then I sanded this edge down just a little bit with some sandpaper to make the hole just a little bit smaller. So on my migratory lids here, I had 3/8 feeder rim added in case you want to feed a pollen patty, give you a little more headspace up there for that. You'll notice my hole is not centered. The drill press that I was using, I didn't have a deep enough throat to drill it dead center, but I don't see why that will matter. Matter of fact, it might be helpful if you had a leaky jar or something leaking on the brood nest. But anyway, I don't know that it'll make a difference either way. A couple other pieces I had built was cypress bottom boards. And then this is another piece of information I gathered from Bob Benning. This is a double screen board or double snell board, I think they call them. I can't even begin to list all the different uses for these things. You can use them whenever to put a nuke on. So if you had a big strong single or a double, you could set this on top of your hive and then put a smaller colony on there, like to overwinter or in the early spring, and the heat will rise up through the bigger colony into the smaller one and keep it warm. You can also use this when you're mating. You can make a hive queenless. If you have a double deep hive, you can split it, put this in between it. The top hive thinks that it's queenless, and you can use that to raise queen cells. You'll notice that there's cutouts on these, and you can rotate these different directions, and you basically make an entrance and exit wherever you need it, where you want on the side of the hive, the back of the hive, wherever you need it. So they, like I said, I can't begin to tell you all the uses for them. I haven't got to use one yet. I just got these, but I'm looking forward to using them. There's a ton of ways you could use them, and I think it's going to be helpful. I think everybody ought to have a few of them. So anyway, Josh Hager, Bearded Bee Works. Thanks for watching, and if you could, subscribe to our channel. Thank you.